Hi there, I'm Alison van Schie of Alongside Caregiver Consulting, and I'm your host for the Island Treasures podcast. Today's mini episode is a celebration. We are celebrating 1 year of the Island Treasures podcast for caregivers being on the air. What a year of content and learning this has been. If you've been following the Island Treasures podcasts, you will have noticed improvements in technical things such as sound quality, and perhaps even in my interviewing abilities. But one area that I cannot improve upon is the content shared by my guests, their courage, care, resilience, rawness, and hope. I have met amazing people who I may never have had the privilege of knowing had I not taken this step into the world of podcasting. Each podcast episode is like a child for me. And as with my own children, I am so proud of each one. As I said, caregivers are resilient. And for the bigger picture of helping other caregivers, they often overlook their own vulnerability. You may have heard me along the way say how caregivers are my heroes. That's because they are. You are. And you're the hero to your loved ones as well. And don't ever forget that. As you will remember, the podcast originated as a way to continue to share resources, insights, and encouragement to caregivers who may be feeling stuck and challenged in their situations during the pandemic. The goal of the podcast was to provide hope and a message that you're not alone at a time when you may be feeling alone and isolated. As the podcast audience is growing, sadly, so is the number of caregivers globally. And the projections are that numbers will continue to increase. Caregivers need support, and they need to know what resources are available. There are many resources available, but when you're pressed for time, and perhaps even in a crisis, it's way more convenient to learn tips and resources from a caregiver who knows what works. And my guests are doing just that. They're sharing what they found works. On October 5th, 2020, I recorded a trailer through the Anchor app. I hit publish, and that cemented my commitment to do this. And a year in, I have no regrets. From the first episode, A Love Story, when Roy said, "I'm not sure what I'm getting myself into, but yes, I'd be happy to venture into something unknown." To me, that was such a true caregiver spirit. Roy was sharing his story through his grief of losing his wife, Nan. Next came the episode called Life Does Not End with a Diagnosis of Alzheimer's, where Dennis Dolniak offers a wealth of information and resources. Then my interview with Teresa Wilbanks, also a certified caregiver consultant, provides caregiver strategies that she created looking after her dad, which she talks about in the episode called When Winning is Losing and Losing is Winning. The next episode was a personal connection for me, as Alice and Corey are my neighbors. And I have met Doug, who was Alice's father. They were providing Doug with the opportunity to live and participate in their home as they became his long-term care plan. Their insights and stories are shared in the Caregiving Coin. Next, you meet Brenda Blaze Nesbitt. Brenda and I met as we both are Canadian, and we both are growing our businesses as caregiver consultants. She is the care provider for her 28-year-old daughter, Nikki, and provides insights about navigating the healthcare system as she advocates and loves on her daughter. Listen to Brenda's story in the episode called Empowered by Positivity. Next is 4 Hugs a Day, where Anne takes us on an emotional roller coaster ride as she talks about caring for her husband who has dementia, and talks about how to survive all the changes while figuring out placement for her husband into a care home. As we talked about the need for hugs and physical touch, Anne introduced me to Charlotte Diamond's upbeat song called 4 Hugs a Day, I hadn't heard of this song before, but it is one that is easy to hum along to, and it's included at the conclusion of this episode. The next episode, The Musician's Daughter, is with Betsy Haddad. She's the adult child of a father with dementia. And Betsy and her dad have a strong connection with music. She's a huge support to her mom, who is the primary caregiver. And to continue along the musical theme, I'd reached out to a friend of mine, Pat Thibodeau, who writes her own music. And I asked her if she would write a jingle for the podcast. I had no idea when I reached out to her that she had a personal connection to caregiving because her dad had had Alzheimer's. Even though she doesn't write jingles, she composed a beautiful song about her experience. It's called Doesn't Know Me, as is the episode. And in the episode, you'll hear her family's experience with Alzheimer's and how they all rallied around their mother. Next, the episode, And Then I Danced. I interviewed Tonyiddles, who is a certified caregiver consultant and provides a wealth of information from her 14-year caregiving journey for her mom. Tony talked about being prepared and what documents to create. I've had occasion to use some of Tony's tips, like having a bag packed with items and activities to fill a waiting period while our loved one is in the emergency room. It's helpful information. Next is the Dementia Puzzle. To date, this is the most downloaded episode. Sue Johnston was caring for her mom who had dementia. And during the episode, she came up with the idea of a dementia puzzle, a visual or tangible way to help understand the progression of dementia by making a puzzle piece for each new experience, loss, or behavior. Each caregiver and person with dementia would create a very unique puzzle together. Sue's relationship with her mom was lovely, but not everyone has a positive relationship with their care recipient. Some caregivers are called upon to look after someone who has hurt them or abused them. And that's the topic addressed in Growth in Caregiving, Healing Through Trauma, where Lisa Kendall, a licensed social worker, speaks about trauma-informed approaches to caregiving and gives permission to say no. Through my podcasting journey, I was introduced to Chris McClellan, who is the founder of the Whole Care Network. Chris invited Island Treasures podcast to join this network, and so we did. We have a landing page on WCN, which is the Whole Care Network, and the Whole Care Network is a hub of resources for caregivers. Their tagline is, "Everyone has a story, but not everyone has a chance to tell their story." That's why on the Whole Care Network, you talk and we listen. Chris offered to tell his story caring for his partner as he battled esophageal cancer, which you can hear on the episode called The Caregiving Cape. The next episode features Erin Gallagher in Start Strong as a Caregiver. We talk about Erin's clear and easy to understand approach for caregivers and patient advocates as she combines her personal experience with her professional background to help folks create a team to support a loved one. In her book, The Badass Advocate, there are many quotes that are inspirational. Take a listen to this episode and read the book so you can start strong as a caregiver. When the time came to interview my next guest, Chandra Cummings, we kept experiencing scheduling difficulties. In my experience, when things are difficult to coordinate, that usually means they're going to be extra special. Chandra and her wisdom were just that. She spoke from her experience as a caregiver for her son for 33 years and counting, and now how she helps folks peel through the layers of trauma that may impact their own caregiving. You can hear Chandra's wisdom and insights in Through the Lens of a Long-Haul Caregiver. Next is Adrienne Jacobs. Arlene was thrust into caregiving as a young mother. then owned a caregiving agency. Next was caregiver for her parents, and now applies her skills and compassion where caregivers need it most, in pre-planning funerals. We're all going to need that someday. Arlene has a knack for addressing this sensitive topic, and I found her information helpful. Listen to the episode to hear what she says about the perfect urn and how by pre-planning for our own funerals, we are giving our families a parting gift. Rounding off the first year of full episodes is Skills Retained, Strengths-Based Approach to Dementia Care, where Judy Cornish, creator of the Dawn Method, provides hope for making the caregiving journey a positive one. Isn't that what we all want? Listen to the full episode for helpful tips and insights, and stay tuned to the end of the episode when you'll hear the secret to life. That wraps up the recap of the full episodes. But throughout the year, I have received feedback that I've taken to heart. One suggestion was to create a shorter episode for those who are not able to listen to a full episode in one sitting. So I've created Island Treasures mini podcasts. They include personal reflections linking back to the most recent full episode that aired and are published mid-month. And finally, the celebration episode is more like a maxi mini episode. It's been so much fun for me to revisit each of the episodes and think fondly of my guests with so much gratitude for so willingly saying yes to being on the podcast and sharing their wisdom. Caregiving isn't going away. And if I can continue to bring these amazing interviews into your homes, I don't plan on going anywhere either. It's been a great year from a podcasting viewpoint, and I thank all my guests for the amazing content and all of you for listening. Please feel free to connect with me through alongsidecaregiverconsulting.ca or through Instagram or the Island Treasures for Caregivers Facebook group. Thank you for listening today. And if you're watching the video, thanks for watching the video. See you next time and take care.